Welcome in. This is our first podcast. We're doing a trial run here. I'm not sure exactly how well it's going to go, but we will get better as we progress, right?
Yeah.
So, everybody, I am Tracie Redden Frick. I am TR's Tarot Talk 1111 on YouTube, and I am a twin flame ascension coach, also a tarot reader. But I'm going to ask Ju. Ju, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and the mission that you've been given by Spirit?
Yes, I would love. Thank you, Tracie. So, yeah, I'm Chu Helena Conrad. I'm currently living in Switzerland, Zurich, and I started to realize that the world is not what it seems probably back in 2017. So it took me a while to wake up. I've been through some rough patches, like many probably, and then that tower hit me, tower moment, right, wake up. So I worked in the financial industry for over 20 years and thought that this is my life. I had everything. I had a family. I had a very good income. I had, a big car and on holiday 3 times a year. But I got miserable. I got unhealthy. I was just very, very unhappy. And in 2017, it got so bad that I had to quit the job. I was diagnosed with depression and bipolar 1, and like many, put on medication. And while I was taking this medication and seeing a shrink every week, I just felt that it was not me. This is me anymore. And I preferred actually to feel depressed and feel sad in, instead of not having any emotions anymore. Even my children, they wouldn't recognize me anymore. So I went on internet and started looking for psychic. Just simply like, okay, I need something else. I need another input. And it was interesting because my doctors all supported it. I was lucky, really. My GP supported it. My shrink said, "Look, I don't see that these sessions going anywhere," and I felt like it. I profit more when I talk to a friend than going to someone that is like, really detached from my life, right? So I would consult psychics, not very often. I knew that become dependent on someone externally again wouldn't be my way, wouldn't be the right way either. So I was very, very good in, judging the situation of, no, I need to do that myself. Until I had deep dive Akashic record reading, and this lady, she reads the Akashic record for hundreds of people and has more than 10 years experience. She told me, it's like, look, you're here for a mission. You you know deep within that there is something that you need to follow. Your soul's telling you, your soul's calling out for you, right?
Right.
And she suggested me really to meditate. So I started meditating every day for hours, sometimes for 2 3 hours. um, and then I was shown, like, okay, you know, as you know, I was an adoptee. I'm an adoptee, so I was born in South Korea and grew up in Switzerland. You had to do something with children, and also that nature was really big for me, getting more and more prominent. So I was, starting buying plants and propagating plants, and also watching YouTube channels like Rich Lobs. And there he was talking about his Tracy. And I felt like, oh, I need to book a session with her. I just the connection. It's like this lady. I need to connect with her. And I don't know if you remember, Tracy, but we had this beautiful connection through, you
Absolutely.
mother that adopted children, and I came from the other side. Being an adoptee, I think we could give each other like some missing pieces, right, in
Right.
this process. And you also confirmed me that, yeah, you need to do something with children. You need to do something with healing children. And we were talking, I don't know how long, but it was longer than we scheduled. That's for sure.
Right. Well, I remember, so not to interrupt, but so a lot of people that find me resonate with being divine feminines.
Yeah.
And so I need to ask you for those viewing, because a lot of the people that follow my channel, and this is going to be uploaded to the new channel, which is called um, my furnace kicked on and I just drew a blank. So we are the Lightworker Community Podcast and
Directly.
Directory. The Lightworker Community Podcast and Directory. Isn't that silly? We just came up with that, what, yesterday?
Yes,
Yeah.
yesterday.
So it's still fresh in my mind, or not so fresh. I need to pull it out. But I remember that when you connected with me, you told me you resonated with being a twin flame and a divine feminine.
Yeah.
And so when I had my major awakening, which I believe you and I are on the same wave, because I was told there were three waves of light workers, star seeds, and high level soulmates, is the way my team channeled it to me, because I am a channeler. And they told me that there would be three waves that I would be personally channeling for and helping on the ascension, which at that time I hadn't even begun. Literally, like I had just gone through my dark night of the soul and was having, it was like a roller coaster ride I couldn't get off of. It was download after download after download. I was having past life recall, past life visions. I could see the karma that I had accumulated in previous lifetimes with people who are in my current lifetime.
Yeah.
And the reason why we were suffering in relationship to one another because of a debt that we had incurred in, previous lifetimes. So 2017, I can remember it was a blood moon, full moon lunar eclipse. And it had a couple other titles that went with it. And it was back when, if I remember correctly, there was like 6 or 7 planets that aligned.
Yeah.
Not all of them,
Line up.
but many of them aligned in
Yeah.
0 point energy again, like a reset.
Yeah.
So I remember you as being one of the first divine feminines. I mean, not the first, but one of maybe the first, I'd say 10 or 12, that found me. And when I had my download, I asked Spirit, I'm like, how am I? Just a girl from a little tiny town in Ohio. How am I supposed to find 3 waves of light workers, star seeds, and high level soulmates? And they told me they will be guided to you through a young man. They didn't give me a name. They didn't give me any kind of data. I still have the original journal where I downloaded it and wrote it out. And so when you got a hold of me, it took quite a few people finding me through Rich before I kind of made that connection that he was the young man that they were talking about. And I have a very unique connection with Rich that started in a very strange way too, which I talked about in his podcast, where I seen one of his videos. It was his Aquarius video, what it's like to be an Aquarian or something like that.
Oh,
And
funny. I'm an Aquarius.
yeah, see? And so Spirit told me, you need to help him. And at that time, I was 347 pounds. I had manifested over 12 different diseases in my body. I was on like 17 different prescription medications. I had just lost my mom and my sister and my religion, literally lost my religion, my faith, my belief, my conformed beliefs. And so, he, spirit just moved him he was in Maine, homeless, living under a bridge, is the way he told his story, and had an alcohol addiction. And somehow spirit moved him from there to Cleveland, which is just an hour away from where I live. And then me and my friend Sherry, who is going to be our second guest, Rich is going to be our first guest. So if you guys don't understand yet, Jew and I are doing this together. This is kind of our own creation that we are doing together. And so Rich will be our first guest. He is scheduled for December 5th. It's not going to be live. It'll be pre-recorded, so it'll be uploaded, as it's available. And we've already got 3 guests up. We've got Rich on the 1st or the 5th, which is a Monday. We've got Sherry Lynn Andromedin, which is a very close friend and colleague of mine also. And so she will be December 12th. And then you talk to Connie. Connie is, well, we'll tell Connie's story when she comes on, but she has a very close connection now with the 3 of us, and will be part of Jew's mission.
Yeah.
Which now we'll go back to talking about you. What is this mission, and how do you visualize it?
So, just to give you background, so getting my down from my guide, it's clear to me that the biggest fear is really where your mission lies. And with my experience, again, being a doctor, have all these conditions around love, my first was giving away and very conditional situation, right? And I deeply felt that that was for me to experience so I can connect with children on this emotional level of not having this, you know, um, emotional security, not having that unconditional love, um, and also not, being what we think we're supposed to be, right? Again, all these conditions around it, and so I had a very hard time to show love to people because I always felt like if I show the love, then they're gone, right? I felt like
Abandonment.
Chase people away rather than draw them in.
Right.
And then again as well, when I met my twin, he was suffering from the same issues, and we both realized that must be our mission, to show unconditional love to children and also show them that it's safe to love, right? So the mission I had then was really, you need to go on a farm, you need to have animals around, because I think it is for children probably easier to connect to animal first and to nature.
Right.
So identifying externally in an animal the behavior, emotional behavior, and once they understand how this animal behaves based on the emotional connection they make with the child, they can learn and understanding their own emotions.
Right.
And nature is just something I love. So I love gardening, I love flowers, vegetables, I like cooking. So all of a sudden I saw this vision, me on the farm with horses, with these children, digging in the ground, and harvesting what we planned, so so I would like to for them to actually join a healing journey where they experience the seasons, right? Because our seasons have seasons too, but also can then harvest and learn what they can do out of it, right?
Right.
It's really from the ground to the table, the whole
Right.
thing. And you connected me with that beautiful soul, Connie, who we're going to have on the podcast. And we will talk more in details about the mission then. But basically, she has the environment for it.
Hmm.
And and ideas. She has beautiful ideas too. But I have the ability to make packages out of it, right? Like really,
Right.
a session could look like this. It's where we can integrate the parents. That is where the parent has to learn to let go in order for the child to really grow, and find the confidence in themselves, right?
Right.
And and so yeah, it looks like it's going to happen next year, and I'm very
Yay.
excited about that too.
I am very excited. And you guys were the inspiration for this podcast. So Spirit had been pushing me for a while now. I want to say at least 2 years to create the podcast. But it didn't take shape or form in my mind. I was like, well, who do I interview? What do we talk about? What's the purpose? And it's been slow coming in, but one thing I hear over and over and over again with my clients, which, I didn't have a lot. Now I have a lot. I have a lot of clients. I've never counted them, but I have almost 7,000 or 6,000. I don't even remember. I've lost count on YouTube. I got a couple thousand on Facebook. And so I've grown a lot. And one thing that seems to be a pattern that keeps expressing itself through my clients is everybody felt so alone. Like they went through this awakening, and if they tried to talk to their parents or their siblings or their family or their coworkers, nobody understood it. They thought they were crazy. They're like, I don't understand. Why are you obsessing about this? Why are you purging? Because I don't know about you, but I went through the purge where I grieved uncontrollably. Like I wasn't even sure what I was grieving anymore, but I would just, it was like I ripped my chest open and just started wailing and grieving. And I couldn't leave my bedroom for probably a good 4 or 5 months. Now, most people didn't see it strangely with me because I had experienced two family members dying within 7 months of each other. So the grieving part of it, they seemed to understand. But me, I didn't understand it because I didn't feel like it was just them that I was grieving. And my twin, who I met when I was 12, has been so I've been on this twin flame journey for like 40 years, didn't understand it, didn't know what it was, had no clue, but we've been through the runner chaser thing. I've been the runner, I've been the chaser. Every time we reconnect, and it's so serendipitous. It's like, he could live way over here in Timbuktu, and I'm living in this other state, 8, 9 states away, and we would run into each other at a flea market or in a state in between. It was just really crazy. But we had been in 20 years of separation. I was married for 20 years. He was married for 20 years. We hadn't seen each other, didn't cross paths. I didn't know if he was dead or alive. Um, and quite frankly, I'd like to say I'd forgotten him, but if you're a twin, you understand, you never truly forget. You can kind of put it in the back a little bit, but you never truly forget the twin. But when my mom passed away, I received an email, or not an email, a text from an unknown number. And all it said was, "Aw, Kitty, sorry to hear about your mom." And I knew instantly, like that connection that you have with your twin, I knew exactly who it was. And we reconnected, and we were both married, and we just, as friends, supported each other because his mom was sick and dying. My mom had just died. And we were just kind of a support system for each other. And that was when, like, he was the catalyst for my bigger awakening, which was crazy because he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. Like, he
No,
occasionally would send me a
the
text,
energy
but
has nothing to do with action. It's the energy.
right, exactly. It's I believe it's we carry a frequency, each separate twin, that activates in the energetic field, and it really doesn't have anything to do with what is said or what they
Yeah,
look like. Or,
it's like a song you don't hear, but you
right,
feel it, right?
right. So that was my catalyst for awakening, and man, it just hit me hard. It's been 4 years since I moved. I believe this is year number 4. I don't know, because like this awakening has been so crazy that time and space don't seem to matter anymore. So I'm constantly checking my calendar. What month is it? What day is it? Where am I at on this thing?
Yeah, same. I mean, I feel like this 2022, it feels like it's been 2 months, right? And we got
Right.
December again. So it's speeding up. So because the energy is so, I was just so intense, time is really starting to lapse. And that's what happens, right? When you go into zero space, zero, zero
Right. Yeah, it's like being in a
time
time
starts to
capsule. There's no
right?
time and space. It's
And
crazy.
and this is exactly, yes. I don't know. So mostly I don't know what time. We know what day it is. I have to thank God my son's going to school, so I can,
Right. Me too. I've had like Thanksgiving just snuck right up on me. I mean, if it wasn't for my family saying, "What are you cooking on Thursday?" I was like, "What? What? It's
Yeah,
here already?"
yeah,
You know. So this whole podcast idea has been slow. It's just been really slow. I've been getting these downloads. If anybody's been watching my channel for a while, you know that I do channeled messages. I used to do it every new moon and full moon, and then I was just kind of guided to back off on that for a little while. And I believe it's because we were quantumly jumping timelines. And so like the data would become irrelevant. Like it just wasn't, we weren't quite there. We were in that yoni. We were in that 0 point stage. A lot of us, I mean, not everybody, but all the light workers awaken at their own pace, right? Divine timing means not a minute before you're ready, not a minute too late, but when you're ready.
perfect
When
time, right? And there's
right,
always a reason why something is not happening right now. There's
right.
a reason why, you got like this, it's like a gentle reminder, and it was an internal preparation, and the
It like
circumstances.
an
You're right.
integration, I hear, like, because
Yeah,
I hear voices in my head, you know how crazy I can be, but I hear integration. So we learn something, or we even go through these triggers, right? These
yeah,
triggers that trigger us in a wound, like an abandonment wound, or a, for some people it's control or infidelity, or it's different for each person, but we all have trauma wounds that we chose as light workers, because we all chose to be incarnated at this time to help with the awakening. And a lot of us chose really traumatic bloodlines, that go way back. The bloodline goes way back, where there's a lot of ancestral trauma that's built up in that DNA. And I believe we're reattaching as we ascend, or whatever title you want to peg it with. We are physically changing, going from the carbon-based model of humans to the crystalline based,
yeah.
and we are reattaching the 10 layers of DNA, or strands of DNA, that they call junk. I'd be interested in finding out if any of mine are reattached, because I know that I can almost tell you the exact moment my soul star chakra opened, because I could never channel before. I was just, I would have a few dreams that maybe came true or were prophetic, or I always had that knowing, like I could be around people or circumstances, and I was like, oh, this don't feel right, or this feels perfect, like this is where I'm meant to be. And I've always been able to sense, see, smell, taste dead people. Like, it's crazy. And since I want to see evolved, since I've evolved, that doesn't seem to be one of my major gifts anymore. I'm not as big of a medium. I can still do mediumship, but it happens more as in an as needed basis, I guess I want to say. So if I have a client that gets a hold of me and says, I'm not really interested in channeling or tarot, but I have somebody that crossed over and I need closure, I need healing around that, can you contact them? It seems to happen. But but it doesn't, like, I don't walk around seeing them leaning against trees or hiding, I just don't see them anymore unless I'm intentionally trying to tap in, which is great for me because it used to be very difficult as a child to see dead people and not be able, the difference between the living and the dead. Like, I would see you being a living person and I could see maybe your grandmother or your mother or, somebody from the other side right behind you. And it was hard for me to discern who was real and who was not.
Well,
And
yes,
so I really don't have
because
that.
we have that spirit, right? So it's very hard to control it. And also, learn to how should I say, to handle with experience, with ascending, with healing, you know. So children have really hard time. It's not easy for them.
Right. So that brings me back to the whole mission thing for my purpose for this podcast. And I was so grateful that you were on board and you were willing to help because, you are good at the technological stuff and I just am not. I'm learning though. I can learn anything. I've noticed that if I apply myself, I can be taught just about anything. But in the initial stages, I need that teacher, right?
Yeah.
I need that teacher. And so you've been able to help me muddle through. I'm hoping that this podcast is recording correctly and everything's going to go right. But for me personally, it's all about that feeling of being alone. I felt so alone. Nobody understood. They were like, Tracie, I know you lost your mom. I know you lost your sister, but you have completely wiped out your life. I mean, I tore it all down. I got a divorce. I lost, God, I don't even know how many pounds I've lost now, but I've lost at least 140 pounds, maybe even a few more than that. I quit my job. I had 3 businesses, and like you, I was just not happy in them. They weren't fulfilling. They weren't my calling. I ended up quitting every one of them, and my whole family thought I was crazy. They're like, how are you going to support you and your 9-year-old son? How are you going to pay your rent? How are you going to take care of yourself? And I was like, I don't know, but Spirit keeps telling me that they've got this, that this, I'm going to be fine. And so, when I met Rich, I still had dogma, a lot of dogma around tarot, because I am a reverend and I, preached at the pulpit and taught Sunday school and sat on sessions. And I just, was very steeped in the Christian religion. And, tarot was taboo. That's the devil's playground. And, quite frankly, it can be. I'm not going to lie. Tarot is a tool, just like a hammer. And this was the way that Rich described it to me so that I could put my dogma aside, is he said, you can take a hammer and you can take a hammer and bash somebody's skull in, right? Or you can take a hammer and build them a home where they can raise their children and create a family and a secure base, right? But the difference between the hammer isn't the hammer, it's the hand that's holding it.
And intention,
Exactly.
I say everything in the universe is neutral and it's about the attention behind it, right?
Exactly.
I took a similar example to explain it to one of my clients. It's like, a kitchen knife. If you kill someone with it, then it's bad, right? But
Right.
if you chop your vegetables for
Right.
making a nice meal, then it's a good thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
So yes, I believe that everything is neutral and it's all about who's using it and what it's used for.
Exactly. Where you cast your gaze too, you know, if you've got trauma that is unresolved within you, then we can tend to project that trauma onto other people because hurt people, right? And healed people heal people. And
Yeah.
so, you know, this podcast, I'm hoping we're going to be able to really make this work. We're going to be putting it on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Rumble, BitChute, possibly Telegram. I haven't looked into that yet. Facebook, we created a Facebook group, and Ju's going to create a Facebook account, an actual account, right? Is that what
Yeah.
you were planning on doing? And we could use that Facebook account to create the other, you know, accounts like TikTok, and because they're all affiliated.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know, some of the content that we talk about as light workers might actually be flagged on YouTube. So we'll have other platforms where we can share the ones that aren't able to be shared
Yeah.
on YouTube. And so we're also creating a directory. So, you know, Ju does, what services do you offer, Ju?
So it's I still offer tarot readings and healing sessions. It's really about, so the way it works, it's, I call it fragmentation work. So it's really taking apart the whole personality, and always like this, with each personality trait, you, again, you have the negative and and the positive, right?
Right.
It's one. So and it's always about recognizing what is the negative, but also facing the positive, right?
Right.
And knowing whenever, you know, the trigger comes, that you realize, oh, this is now the negative version, but
Hmm.
I can see the positive version of it, right?
Right. That whole duality where you
Exactly.
cast your gaze, you know.
It's and what I also offer is energy massages, where I open up the chakras, where I really, you know, lay them down, and then, because the Akashic record reader told me I got healing hands, and
Right.
I realized that because whenever I'm sore, I can heal myself with my hands,
Right.
and so it's really, I can feel whether the chakra is, you know, entirely closed or slightly open, but really I'm not even touching you, I'm just going over it, and
Can
it's
you
what
do that virtually?
I do. That, so a lot of people prefer that, actually really being in
In
front,
person?
laying
Right.
down, but I can also do that from a distance, like, you know, over a call or
Like
something.
Reiki. Yeah, I'm a Reiki master, so I can do distance Reiki as well.
So, and I'm guided, you know, it's not something that I learned from a book. It's then it's when I channel, right? Then
Right.
it's
Right.
my higher self telling me, it's like, okay, go to this chakra and go to this chakra, and 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 it's interesting because most of the people, obviously, the heart chakra is the big problem, right?
Right.
So all my clients, when they had these chakra opening sessions, they would call me up or text me. It's like, I have a breakdown, emotional breakdown.
Right.
Wow,
Exactly.
it's really, it's purging. It's really purging.
Well, the purge is so,
It's important.
it's, well, it's also how me in my own business, how I can tell that I'm dealing with the light worker, because the purge um, for light workers seems to happen spontaneously. It's not something they're seeking. They don't go to a practitioner. At least for me, it was my experience. I didn't ask for it. Like, it just kind of hit me like lightning out of nowhere. And a lot of times when I work with clients, I'll ask them, well, first thing I ask them is, how did you find me? Because if they found me through Rich, I'm pretty sure they were part of my three waves,
Right.
because I do know that that was channeled to me. And if they didn't, if they found me some other way, then I step into their energetic field
Mhm.
and look at the catalyst,
Mhm.
because you can tell if somebody's been awakening slowly for the last 20 years and they go and they learn through books and they learn through modalities, or they're using the old energy of ceremony and ritual. They're actually seeking, right? They're going through the seeking process, which is also part of the Great Awakening. It's part of the and I noticed a lot, not just with twin flames, but with all light workers, they get the numbers, right? They get the 1111, the 111, the 101. Sometimes it's your birthday. Sometimes it's just some strange number that you can't quit seeing. It's just everywhere. And so, personally, because I channel, I have a hard time. I don't know about you. You seem so focused. Like I'm all over the place. I'm on this topic, then I'm on that topic. But I feel that works best for me because I get downloads. Like I get, and then spirit will bring me back to a point. They're like, okay, let's go back to this now. So going back to like when I quit my jobs, I quit all 3 businesses. I shut them down. I was working at a factory. My hands hurt all the time. And I was in very deep lack mentality. I was like, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. This, I can't have this. I can't have that. And it was a very quick process, but very difficult process where spirit kept teaching me through my twin, triggering me in those traumas that created that lack mentality to begin with, to overcome it, to overcome the fear, to trust the universe, to take that. I had a whole download on the Fool's card in the tarot. I mean, it was like this complete and utter download where, the Fool isn't just inexperienced, but they're also so full of faith. It's like they take that leap because they trust it. Like it's a trust thing. You totally jump off the deep end and know that spirit's got you. And not always, in some instances we act foolish, right? The Fool's card can be foolish too, where we make foolish choices and take that leap and right. That's the duality. But over the last 4 years, I have stood in faith. And when that faith has wavered or been triggered, I learned so much through not just my own journey, but my client's journey. And then, of course, when I do YouTube videos doing tarot readings for the divine feminines, I am a divine feminine, so it always resonates with me. And a lot of times I'll channel a message. And when I'm channeling through tarot, I don't always pay attention to the message. I'm more focused on delivering it than I am integrating it. And then so later I'll go back and watch the video and be like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. That applies to me. I need to know that. That's important. And so the journey, and I noticed too, it's really easy for spirit to hijack and use algorithms. The algorithms would lead me to the right teachers at the right time with the right, and I'd get music downloads, lyrics, numbers. The whole entire journey has been so divinely orchestrated, like a song. Yeah. And so it brought me to, I do resist. I tend to resist a lot of times through fear and trauma. I'm not completely, I don't know if we're ever completely healed or completely, ascended. I'm not even sure that's our goal in this lifetime. I believe we're ascending with the body, with the ego, and we're creating a new world. It's a better world, but it's not going back to source, right?
Yeah.
And so spirit told me I needed to create this, and I resisted. I resisted Patreon too for a long time because spirit told me that the whole twin flame journey had been hijacked by lower vibrational entities, whereby it was creating separation, not unification. And the first union is with source. It's you with you. It's you with the divine source that's within you. And so I got really triggered to where I didn't want to do any twin flame readings at all. I was like, no, I don't want to participate in this. I don't even know what title to put on it, but like there's so many readers that are just using it to monetize or to make money or to create their platform without realizing, and some of them don't do it intentionally. They're just, they're channeling the lower density entities. Anything that creates separation is not love. And I felt it deep in my heart. I was like, oh, I don't like where this is going. I don't like the fact that I'm doing these twin flame readings and I'm keeping people stuck in this separation phase of negativity. And so I was being pushed by Spirit to create the Patreon, where I have a tier. It's the 1111 tier. It's $11.11. And I ask that nobody joins it unless they believe that they are a twin or a high level soulmate, because not everybody calls it twin. But if their ascension or their awakening or their spiritual journey had a catalyst that was a romantic partner as the catalyst, then I wanted to gather there. And if you're in that, I don't think you are, but many people are, they'll tell you, I don't do a whole lot of twin flame readings. What I did was we did like, I want to say like 3 months of shadow work journaling, where I did almost a 45-minute or more vlog every morning, where I bought a shadow work journal, and it had like suggestions, like when was, do you feel worthy of being a millionaire, or just different questions, where it caused us to really look at the blockages we have around those traumas. And so, I created that with the idea and intention to heal ourselves from the inside out, so that we could prepare for that first union, which, I don't believe all twins are going to find union in the physical, because not all souls signed up for that. Not everybody came here for that. And I believe that we have the twin souls, split souls, that are incarnated, that are meant to come together. And then we have those that are running what I like to call the twin flame template or operating system, because it's effective. That twin flame template is very effective at getting us to purge and to heal and to walk through the Akashic records and start looking at what serves us, what doesn't serve us, because we're going from the Iron Age to the Ether Age, right? The age of technology and enlightenment. And so we literally are evolving. And so my journey's just been one step at a time. I really resisted creating that Patreon because I didn't want to charge money. I didn't feel I just didn't feel like that resonated with me at that time. Now I'm learning that, Spirit wants to support us on our journey so that we can reach more people and do more mission work. And it takes money, right? It takes finances. It takes backing.
The thing is, it's the money is again neutral, right? There's this stigma in this society about that we believe that when we do this work that we should not be charging money because
Right.
it's bad, it's evil. No, it's not. It's what we make, what you do with the money, again,
Intention, right?
Right. So,
So I
but
finally created it.
stigma first.
Yeah, so I finally created Patreon. So the same thing happened with this podcast. Is it was given to me a long time ago, but I resisted and I resisted and I resisted, because I was like, I don't have fear of failure. I have fear of success. It seems like when I really put myself into something, it does, and it takes a while, slow and steady. That's because of my limited belief system. I think if I could clear that, and I've been working on it, that stigmatism around, being a light worker and still being able to ask for monetary support in order to do what I do. So I resisted. And so then Rich started his, and of course, Rich is always, he's got that Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to gold. But I was a little triggered when he asked me to be his first guest, because I was like, see, you were supposed to be doing that. And if you don't do it, Spirit will give it to someone else. Here, you're not going to listen to us. You're not going to follow what we give you. We'll plant that seed in someone else. Well, now Rich's podcast is all about the awakening. It's about the experiences of having metaphysical or supernatural, paranormal experiences, which is totally different than what my guides were bringing to me. Mine is all about you are not alone. They've been channeling that Michael Jackson song to me forever, saying, you are not alone. There are light workers all over this planet that are awakening and purging and healing, and they incarnated in some of the hardest family lines, bloodlines, to clear the Akash. And a lot of them are ready. They're ready to start collaborating and finding each other and connecting. And the Spirit showed it to me like the globe with all these pings of light connecting, like a web of light workers, like a grid of light across the globe. And I'm not the only person getting this download. I mean, when I Googled light worker resources, light worker podcast, light worker connection, using keywords, there are light workers all over the world that are doing the same thing. They're connecting through a network, or with us, it's a podcast and a directory. And I'm hoping, because my vision when I look at it in my mind is of expanding the light, raising the frequency, raising the vibration. And one person, one light worker, two light workers can't connect everybody. But if Spirit's got one on the northern hemisphere, one on the southern, one on the eastern and the western, and we're all finding that download, that push from Spirit to create connection, we are not alone.
Yeah.
We are many. And so that's the purpose, I believe, for my wanting to create this. And when I talk to you about it, it seemed, and it always has seemed like you and I have been on the same wave, right? Because Spirit talked about 3 waves, and you were one of my first waves. You were one of my first divine feminines that I met and channeled for. And I remember, you asked me if I remember where I was at. The first email I got, I was at the Dollar General parking lot, and you sent me your YouTube link. And I went and watched, I think, the only one that you had ever created. And I knew instantly, that's my girl. That's one of my team. And, I told you that platform could really, help us to connect. But did you ever go any further than that one video on your YouTube channel?
Well, and no, because remember it's like more videos, and we do, do your reading. That never resonated with me, right? I know I have gone, but that's interesting now. Since I'm on with the podcast, I know now what to, produce, and it is about knowledge. It is about my experiences with ETs and what they have given me. What because I'm a contactee of the Arcturian Council,
right?
And basically, actually,
so mine is the it's funny because not each, but a lot of us that I've connected with resonate with a council. Isn't that funny? Like one of my other friends, I don't want to mention her name without her permission, but she talks to, what does she call it? The Council of Nine or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I channeled the Galactic Federation of Light. And I met, well, we'll save that for another podcast because that's a long story, but I had a vision of the commander, way back when I was like maybe 19 years old. And that we can save that for another podcast because we're going to want to do a lot of podcasts. But that's when I was told in a dream state that I was not from here, that I was brought here or volunteered to be here in order to serve the planet, to raise, and back then I was just a punk teenager. I didn't understand anything. And there was even like a indoctrination or some kind of a sacred circle that I participated in that dream. And they were all the blonde, long hair, blonde, blue-eyed, blue, dressed in blue. And they had stars, a 5-pointed star in the middle of their right hand. And I have a 5-pointed star in the middle of my right hand. It's hard to tell here, but if you ink it and set it down on paper, there's a pentagram in the middle of my hand. And so I believe that I'm Pleiadian, or come from the star system of the Pleiades. And I channeled the name of my higher self as a collective, and they told me it's the Moira, which Moira, which is the Mary group, the divine feminine, like Mary Magdalene. And if you look up Moira on the internet, you'll get the 3 fates.
Yeah.
And so the Moira
pentagram is a sign of feminine, and that's why the God, turned it upside down,
right, inverted it.
Right. It's
right.
Yeah.
So we're 52 minutes, and because it's on Skype, we need to keep it under an hour. So let's start wrapping it up. I know that I can be a little bit all over the place, but that's because I don't write anything down. I don't make any kind of outlines or lists. I believe that the best content comes out through just channeling, just, being directed by spirit. And I do go all over the place, but it was so nice to have you here to ground me, because you stay right where you need to be. And I'm going to count on that in future podcasts where, we're going to need, because both of us will be interviewing our guests. And so I'm going to rely on you to keep me focused and on topic, and not kind of go all over the place. But for me, that's just the way it comes in. It comes in kind of, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. And let's, connect it back to that.
Yes, it's going to be a bit easier because we're going to talk less and it's them to talk, right? So
right.
we really give questions. I mean, I'm not someone that prepares. I believe as well.
Mm-hmm.
I trust, I know my higher self is guiding me. So I would think that we're going to come up with the right questions, and we will, let them speak, and we're the one that listen and observe, observers, right?
Exactly. Well, isn't that what 144,000 are? We're the watchers, right? We are the, what do they call, because all religions call it something different, we're the rainbow warriors, we're, depending on the tribe but because I was raised in biblical experience, in the Revelations, the 144,000 are the witnesses to the rapture.
So you got the observers, fallen angels, Anunnaki, Anuns, Elohims. Yeah, whichever scripture you take, it's a different name, but it's all the same. It's 12 races, that this 12 tribes of Israel, right?
It's the 12 planets, the 12 months in a year. I mean, 12 kind of governs everything, including the DNA strands and yeah, we could go deep into that topic and maybe someday we'll, you know, but so let's round it up here by talking about the podcast. So anybody who's watching, if you believe you're a light worker or you know, a lot of people, so I've invited a few people to the Facebook group and they've responded back saying, I don't believe I'm a light worker. And yet they're writing books and they've got their own podcasts, their own groups, and they are light workers. They just don't recognize or attribute to themselves to that, right? Because that's not maybe
Well, right? There's still that separation.
yeah, so if you're watching and you may not think that you're a light worker, if you have a modality or a vision, you know, maybe you're just awakening, maybe you resonate with being a twin flame or a light worker or a star seed, or maybe you don't even have a title, but you have a story, and that story is a spiritual awakening story that has changed and altered your life to where you are now kind of becoming more of a leader in your own energy, but also capable of teaching others how to do what you went through, you know, like even if that's the only thing you have to share is your awakening experience in such a way that other people can resonate and feel included, because so many of us feel alone, right?
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I've connected with so much of my soul tribe, and I know they're my soul tribe. But in order to find my soul tribe, I had to cut free a lot of, because, you know, energy, if your energetic field is full, I had to get rid of a lot of toxic friendships, toxic relationships.
Right? You have to shed, shedding, you know, it's like an onion, you know.
Right. So
It's
if you believe that you are awakening and ascending or going through some kind of an metaphysical paranormal experience whereby you are literally kind of transforming, it's like the caterpillar going into the chrysalis, going through this huge transformation, and now like you can't recognize who you are compared to who you were. Those are real signs of star seeds and light workers that are here with purpose. And just because you haven't awakened to that purpose yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And if you're feeling extremely alone, like you're crazy and nobody understands what you're going through, we would like to invite you to be part of our podcast. And especially if you have a vision of creating something, some kind of a healing modality or you know, just create, if you're being pushed to create something, there could be other people who are being pushed to create the same thing, but they're overwhelmed because it's a big project and they only have a piece of the puzzle and they need other pieces. This podcast and this directory is meant for us to connect with the people we resonate with. So when you watch the podcast, if you resonate with that person, if you listen to their story and you're like, oh my God, it's like we're twins, like, you know, they went through the same thing, or you just feel a calling. Because, you know, Jew, you didn't even, you know, understand why you felt called, but you felt called to me. And then when we met, I was so called to you. It was like energetically, it was divinely orchestrated. And so that's what I want to do. I want to connect people. We want to connect people. We want to interview you. We want you to talk about your story. If you're a tarot reader or a healer, or, you know, you have services that are metaphysical, or holistic in nature, and you would like to offer those, we're going to be creating a directory. The directory is going to be over in Patreon, and it will cost $1 because we have to protect it with copyright. So it's $1 to be put on the directory, and just email us because we are down to our last like 30 seconds here. So email us, and our email will be connected underneath this video, along with, if you go to the YouTube channel, you will be able to read the mission statement and get more information there, or you can just email us and we can describe it more. So Jew, I love you. I am so grateful for you. And we're going to end this here. And remember, we're going to have Rich Lopp as our first guest on
Yeah.
December 5th. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
All right. Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.